I love the God. It's time to look at the enemy. Look in the mirror if he is no friend of me. It's not working out, maybe it's the chemistry. It's time to break up, so watch them make a better me.
Welcome everyone to the Pommy and Fazz show. It's week 2 of finals, week 3 of off season for Carlton fans, as we know it. Good evening to everyone's coming in. I'm joined as always by the lovely Fazz. How are you doing, Fazz?
Very good, mate. Very good. And yes, it is me. I know a few people might be a bit confused. Yes, it is me. I do have the mo gone finally. But no, good to be here. And I guess just before we get started, just a big shout out and hello to my dad, who's in hospital at the moment. He doesn't miss a show. He wouldn't miss it for the world, even if he was on his deathbed. So shout out to Senior Fazz. Love him.
Daddy Fazz, much love, mate. We're sending love, all the Pommy love in the world to you, mate. I'll do my best to bully your son in your absence. We have got,
You'd love that.
We could have Fazz Junior, couldn't we? We could have snuck a secret son in. Good evening to everyone. Amy's in chat as well, the lovely Amy. Kira, look, the Queen of Prince's Park is in just from her show. And let's get into it. So I suppose we start as we do and this should be an interesting one because usually Fazz upsets someone. I predict a few upsets here. Let's look at Blues news.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution.
Amazingly, that song fits every time we talk about the Carlton segment. The wonderful thing about our football club is they do stuff that causes a stir, don't they? They don't do it. And obviously, we're at that time of year where we say goodbye to our famous sons. So, I mean, obviously, from this time last year, we've lost Tom Williamson. Obviously, he retired, inverted commas. Jack Nooms, Oscar McDonald, Lukey Parks, Will Hayes, and I'm scared. I'm even scared to say I've been walking on eggshells on Twitter for like 48 hours. We'll say it. Liam Stocker, he's gone. So thoughts in the chat and thoughts from yourself, Fazz. What are your thoughts on them delistings?
Carlton, please give us 24 hours without sending Twitter into meltdown. But look, the delistings have occurred. Your opinions can be your opinions. It's like I always say, Pommy. It's like I always say, not all turtles make it out to the ocean. Okay, so
I love that.
And it's the same deal here. No real surprises for me, to be honest. Anyone who watches this show would have heard us talk about Liam Stocker at length last week. But for me, I've been speaking about it on Twitter a lot. I've been saying, we need to pay more attention. Pay attention to what Voss has said in his press conferences, in his interviews, and all this stuff. He wants durability. He wants availability. He wants good ball users in his back six. And your thoughts, we can talk about all the players, but obviously the big one is Liam Stocker. Your thoughts on the player are irrelevant. The reality is Michael Voss did not rate Liam Stocker in the position that he wanted him to play. We can sit here and argue he's a midfielder, he's a this, he's a that, till the cows come home. The fact is the football club wanted him to play in the back line, and Michael Voss didn't rate him in that position, so he's not there anymore. And, it's important to obviously celebrate these players who are gone because they've all pulled on the Carlton jumper. They've all done something we wish we could have done, and they're a part of the Carlton family for life. But, it is sad, but we just got to move on.
Well said. I mean, we covered it last week at length. I did that wonderful draft trade preview, and I dared suggest that he may be delisted or traded out this year with him being the 7th best backman and not having the durability to play midfield. And Nick Austin, thankfully, while I was copping a load of heat, delisted him in that hour. So if you are watching, Nick Austin, thank you for that, because my inbox was fire for suggesting it. No, I agree with you. And I mean, it's sad, but I mean, I look at it a different way. right? I look at it a different way. I think that when you watch the VFL with Stocker, as much as I love him, and I think Gab here nails it, blinded by how much we love him, he's a lovable guy.
Yeah.
Real nice guy, and I think we've taken to him. I think it's just purely football. Purely football for me. Because when you watch him in the VFL, he's the primary ball user down back. You ain't getting rid of Sard. You ain't getting rid of Zach Williams. You ain't getting rid of the number one, Sam Doherty, in that role. And unfortunately, when you watch Boyd and him in VFL playing that solitary back pocket, you do see the gulf in what Vossi wants for that role. And if he hasn't got the tank for it, I'm happy we're not keeping him on. And I think I'm proud of Nick Austin for two reasons. One, he's released him. It's a lot easier to come now on the contract because he's got the full 8 weeks to make a name for himself. He doesn't have that stupid sad thing where he's out of contract, but he's got to be traded for. And that makes teams look elsewhere, genuinely. Carlton do it. And I think the second part of this I want to say as well is he's one of them players that, in my opinion, Carlton have held on to for 12 years, where he stays. You're hoping he can get into 6-5. You're hoping for someone to retire or get injured for him to play. And in the end, he plays 88 games over 10 years, and it's just, he's a clubman. And I think Stocker's ceiling is more than that. I don't think he could be good enough, quick enough to get us in there. And I don't buy it. I've been very strong on this. Toughness is overrated in today's sport unless there's acumen from it. So, best of luck, Liam Stocker. Fucking love you, buddy. I hope to see you at North. I hope to see you at Hawthorn. I hope to see you somewhere. And if we don't, you know what? Fucking, there's ways back into the AFL list as well. And I'm sure if he wants it, this is on him. If he wants it, he can make it.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And he was better off going to one of those clubs who will allow him to have that time to maybe move in the midfield, maybe a different program, whatever it is. But I look at things like certain attributes at VFL level don't transcend to AFL level. Something like ball use. If you're a poor disposal at VFL level, you're going to be an even worse disposal at AFL level, right? And, so getting the ball, like we talk about Paddy Dow, the ability to get the ball, okay, that's going to halve when you get to AFL level. It's simple as that. It doesn't work that way. So Stocker is in that category. I think similar to Dow, Stocker's writing was on the wall when we brought in Zach Williams, when we brought in Boyd, who went past him. And I think a lot of people keep saying the midfield. The club clearly saw him as a backman. Who are we to argue? We're not there every day. And players just went past him, and that's the game. And I think, we spent a lot of time talking about Stocker, but we should probably celebrate the players who got contracts over the last couple of days, the players who did sign on, because they're going to be there, and I think it's exciting.
Mate, spot on. And for those playing along at home, where is it? This is the list as it stands right now. So that is the list. That is their category A's. That is their category B's. If you look at the top right, that's how it's made up at the moment. 33 senior players, 4 Cat A's, 2 Cat B's, 39 in total. Down at the bottom is the AFL minimum requirements. 36 players minimum on the senior list, which allows you to have 6 Cat A's. That changes if you go 38. It comes down to 4, up to 44. So you can say roughly there that we're going to see 5 incomings minimum. I've predicted 37, I reckon, will be the pick we'll get for Jones. I've got a sneaky feeling. And they're the guys that are in limbo. So when we signed Fogarty, we took on his contract extension 2022, end of limbo. Caleb Marchbank, limbo. David Cunningham, limbo. And Will Setterfield, limbo. So I thought this would be a good discussion for us. Now, I'm going to start with the controversial one, right? Got to go bottom. Will Setterfield. Now, Carlton have announced that they are going to keep him pending trade movement, which I would say to me means Carlton have something in mind. And I'd also allude that means Fogarty's dead as well. Yeah. Because if that would allude to me, Stocker is Setterfield is the next midfielder in their mind who's disposable. Fogarty's way below him. So
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, do you think he's traded? I would say if I was an Essendon, if I was a North, I'd willingly play a third for him, third or a fourth.
When I saw that report come out about Will Setterfield today, and keeping in mind about something Alistair Clarkson said in his press conference, saying that most trades are done before trade period even occurs, I think Setterfield's gone. I think a club's already into him. You look at the comparisons between him and Stocker. The club said we're going to delist Stocker. I think that's purely because no club are interested in him. I think it's simple as that. No club has knocked on Carlton's door saying we're interested in Stocker. Okay, he's delisted. You can get him easier. I think Will Setterfield's management has probably come to Carlton and say, we've got interest from X, Y, and Z. Cool. We'll hold on to him till trade period, get a discussion going, whatever. But I do agree. I think Fogarty's dead in the water. And this might become a bit of a concern as it goes on. We'll see what happens at the end of it all. But you're losing your, all those types of players. You hope we've got a few coming in, which I'm sure we will. So, yeah, Setterfield, I think he's gone, to be honest. After hearing what that happened, I think he's definitely gone.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there, and the chat genuinely agrees as well. Like, I think this is spot on here by John. And good day to you. I'm glad you like your Father's Day. I was a part of his Father's Day, so shout out to the Holden family. I'm glad that I shedded an element of light in it. I actually think with like Fog gone, I think with Stocker, what I imagine happened, the conversation was some club is out there and it puts them off. So if you're not an A-lister like Sard, you ain't going to fanny around negotiating a trade at third or a fourth. If they're a top player who are going to make your best 22 better tomorrow, I reckon that's what Carlton have thought. And I give Nick Austin credit. He's been very fair at the trade table. That says to me he's very fair with his players as well. And he said, look, you've got 6 weeks now and it's going to cost them fuck all. It's going to cost them fuck all, just a contract. So we're doing you a service if you can get on the list. With Setterfield, I think that exactly what Michael says. He's probably the backup inside mid. If I'm Austin now, what I'm doing is I'm weighing up what's been offered for him, but also what can I get? So could I get someone? I'm just going to throw a name out, but if I wanted a backup with Ed Curnow looks to sign, I'd say Ed Curnow, in my opinion, I would play Ed Curnow fully fit over Setterfield if there was an injury to Kennedy or if there was an injury to Hewitt, because we know he can do it. Setterfield could do it, can't do it. But I'd also say, if I could get someone like, just throwing a name out there, someone like of an ilk of Jack Redden, at Eagles, as that backup as well. Someone to really steady the ship for the younger players like Carroll, whatever we draft in. Or if I can maybe offload a future first for somewhere around 16 and then think, well, 10, I can get Humphreys. There's an inside midfielder who can play forward. Don't need Setterfield now because I've got the solid 6 in the midfield. 7th is Ed Curnow. 8th, I've got this kid that I can float. So I think that's why they're doing it. Setterfield probably is the perfect backup. But if Carlton can get a better backup, like a Humphreys in the draft, he's solid. Or maybe a senior player who's in his 30s who's going to add some reliability. Maybe that's what they're looking at.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And one of the things I've always had the conversation about, depth is important and all that, but you shouldn't plan for injuries. If you're going to if every club planned for injuries, every club would have 6 ruckmen on their list. So you've got to plan for this is what your best 25 look like, and spots to come into that position. But no, I agree with Setterfield. Moving on to the other two, I see a lot of questions in regards to Cunningham and Marchbank. I'll let you take the first call on those two.
Yeah,
and I'll chime in after that.
While I'm answering that, chat, what would you want for Setterfield? I'd say a third or a fourth all day.
Yeah, same.
I'd be happy with a third if that could be converted in someone. Marchbank, I'd rookie Marchbank, 100%. Yep. Rookie him, and I'm going to use the example of pretty much everyone we've rookied in the last 3 years. It's kicked arse. It's kicked them up the arse.
Yeah. Kennedy, O'Brien, yeah.
The same with Cunners. If I can't improve our 3rd and 4th rounders, I'm happy rookieing them at the base level 150 for a year and saying to them, and this is what I'd say to them, someone like Connors, I would be saying, you are a 400k footballer. But this is my rule. If you're not fit for 18 games, every game below it, I'm knocking off 20k. And I would be saying to him, that is your target. Either come in and get fit, fuck off. Marchbank the same. Marchbank, in my opinion, I said it last week, he's the Charlie Curnow of the backline. He's that good. He is all Australian. But I would rookie him and say, tell you what, no more are we giving you 300 guaranteed. Rookie deal, earn it, earn your stripes, because then next year, suddenly you've got McGovern's contract out. You've got Marchbank's, if it's a year rookie, out. You can say to Mitch, look at Marchbank. He's played 18 games, similar stats to you. Do you really want 600k, or are you willing to compensate 400k and 250, 300k if it? But I'd say there'd have to be rookies. I'd hate to see them on the senior list.
Yeah, look, my opinion is Michael Voss has, I keep referring back to this press conference, durability and availability. Durability, availability. Durability, availability. These boys are in trouble. They're in big trouble.
Connors, definitely.
Yeah, Michael Voss has no affiliation to these boys other than he's coached them for the 12 months. We're all emotionally attached, especially to Marchbank. We're all emotionally attached. They're in trouble. They're in big trouble. I would expect Marchbank at the very least, to go on the rookie lists. But big trouble, because it was not coincidental that Michael Voss said those words in his press conference. It's not coincidental. As well as a sentence of there will be decisions people don't like.
If I'm Connors, I'm shitting myself.
Oh, yeah.
Because if I was Connors, I'd be shitting myself, because originally I was round 12 and I haven't shown. Marchbank, I'll give an out. Came back, looked very good. Them last two games, he looked very, very good. Looked fit as well. That round 23 game, there was a lot of running from Marchbank. We started to see them 11, 12Ks coming out there, which says to me that's where we recognised him back in the glory times of him, 2018. Connors, that's the one, and I mean this with love. I think his ceiling is fucking high. Fucking high. My issue is, though, if Carlton suddenly say trade a future first and somehow work a deal with our second, which I think Sydney would go for, and we get 16 and 17, I'm pissing Connors off. And I'm saying, right, be someone else's problem. I'd rather have a jet kid in who can do the best. But Marchbank, for me, he's proved he can get back. Connors, that knee, it's a recurring knee. He's a little player. And if he's got an ounce of pace lost, well,
he's in
that's
trouble.
His game.
And I will say that with Marchbank, his injuries have all been different. Knee, neck. What did he have? He had a ankle, I think, at one point. Then he did his other knee. So his injuries have all been different, which means they're not overly recurring.
Yeah. To answer your question, Michael, though, like with Curnow, though, rare as rocking or shit, a key forward that can do that. Connors, you can find 200 in a draft. I would say out of the top 100 I've covered, there's 22 Connors, and I would say 11 of them are better than him at that age. Where Curnow, looking at this draft, Cadman, but Cadman's nowhere near the levels of Curnow's destructibility already.
And I think hypothetically, look, with Lou's comment there, hypothetically, if Charlie was still injured, well, the club's probably within their right to question whether Curnow was if he was ever going to get back if he was still injured. You know, like if he had 3 years out, you know.
If Curnow had done it again, I would be saying this year now, Carlton, you'd have to be getting. I would be saying Carlton pick 10 needs to be bundled up with a future first. Need to get into that line for Cadman because he's probably the closest that is there. But when you're talking players like midfielders, half forwards, wingers, that there's 20 very good ones in every draft.
Yeah.
Forwards, that's why forwards have value. So hard to find, particularly ready-made ones. And this year, Cadman and Keeler are probably two that, even Keeler, I'm a big fan. I'd still say if you're playing in more than 12 games a year this year, could be a problem. So that's my thinking on that. Marchbank is a different kettle of fish because I think Carlton are in a privileged position. They have coverage for that player, particularly because Plowman's there for another year. So we know Voss likes to play that third tall, either a lockdown or an intercept to go with Marchbank. So while Plowman's there, I know people are going to complain. Right? But what
it's coming up. It's coming up, Pom. It's coming up.
I'm not saying playing, but I'm saying while you've got that coverage, I don't mind in one more year for how high your ceiling could be and how rare them type of players are in, how rare they are to find. We couldn't find what we need to fix our list and get a replacement for Marchbank this draft. Potentially next year we could. Cunners, I could find you a replacement for Cunners if you gave me a pick in the 30s.
Yeah.
Bearing in he hasn't played for 2 years.
Definitely. No, it's a good chat. And look, I think whatever happens, the boys will be, we'll be behind the boys. But I think it's important we're behind the club first and foremost. And that's why we're here.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And exactly like Gab says, like, if he's our 5th best defender in that position, then third talls, Wanktown. Wanktown is what I'd describe it. Wanktown. Good squad player. You have these players on the list. So Cunners, I hope he stays, though, because I'm a big fan of him.
I hope they both stay.
But it has to be, for me, give them the carrot. Give them the carrot. Because, like I say, can you imagine Cunners, if I'm Voss, I'm watching Cunningham's highlight reel and going, fuck, I don't have that. I don't have that. That is what I'm missing inside 50.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Wang or wank, whichever one you want. Whichever one you want. I'm easy. I'm the man of the people. Man of the people. Well, that is all of Carlton's news. One last question for you all. With Sam Durden re-signing, which I was actually a little bit surprised about that. I thought Carlton may have been stuck with McCasey. It looks like Carlton, I would say now, McCasey is not coming because of Durden. Would you think that's the feeling with Carlton? Do you think that? I don't think there's a need for another key defender.
100%. As soon as Durden was re-signed, my first thought was, well, that's McCasey not coming. But it also, for me, thought, geez, it makes maybe Marchbank as well a little bit nervous. But no, I think it's the right decision. I think Durden's the right decision. I think looking at our squad, I think it's a really good back line. I'm happy we've kept Plowman. I'm happy, McGovern, Marchbank need to stay fit. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And I think I wouldn't be surprised Carlton to take one late in the draft as well. In about that, we've got 2 60s, 62, 64. There is a plethora of like project type players that were missed in the last year's draft, which I've got a sneaky feeling Carlton might just go, you know what? Let's punt at this kid, get him in the VFL. Do you know what I mean? So, all right, well, there we are, John. You've answered my question. There you are. So there it is. But I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see what Carlton are doing it. How are we keeping him? He's still in contract for a year.
So it's coming up, Pom.
AFL rules, if we sacked him, it stays off your salary cap. So the only way you get it off your salary cap, trade him, which there may be some trade value for someone like Lockie Plowman, just quietly. I have a video scenario coming up where we trade him, so I expect that to get 100,000 views because I'm going to put that as the thumbnail, trade Plowman and the equality bait. But no, you can't do it unless they retire. Like we're not in them days now. Since they've changed the cap rules, it's so hard to get rid of a player. It's like at work. There's loads of people I want to sack. I can't though because of law. Only joking if you're watching stuff.
I'm with you.
Do you know what I mean? But let's have a look what's going on in the AFL world.
Living life every day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Fuck me, I'm looking in the mirror, so foggy, but I've never seen clearer. I don't really.
So we'll start off with trade rumours, and it's quite nice because Carlton, because we're not shit. Well, we're not bad shit anymore. We're still not in the top 8. We're not being linked to anyone exciting, but Richmond are, and it's quite interesting today. that Richmond have evidently been quoted for Tim Taranto 2 firsts. To go with their valuation last week for Hopper, which they were looking for a first, which would mean that it would be 2 lots of first and about 2.8 million in salary. Very bizarre, and evidently Richmond are working very hard to ascertain that kind of trade value. Anyone else watch that and just look at Richmond and go, do you really need Taranto and Hopper that bad?
It's hilarious. My favorite part about this is the spin on, look at Richmond, they're going to rejuvenate their list and have a crack at it with Taranto and Hopper. Okay, cool, no worries. To me, it reeks of absolute desperation. Absolute desperation. You know what Richmond need to do? They need to get on the blower, call Geelong and say, hey, Geelong, can you teach us how to keep a stable list, how to keep a sustainable list? Because if they go out and get Taranto and Hopper, they're fucking cooked. They might be able to hang around that little nothing, 6th to 10th mark for a while, but they're going to be absolutely cooked, especially if they give up those draft picks for. And you know what? I love to see it. I'm actually here for it.
Yeah, you know what though? I was talking about this with a Richmond mate of mine, and I was like, I've got a sneaky feeling that Dusty and that Sydney rumour may come off. And I would imagine Sydney, when they look at their list, this is why I think they'll trade their picks. You look at their list makeup, it's absolutely fucking nailed. Do you know what I mean? Their list, they're in a position now where draftees is worst case scenario for them. If they go in with 16 and 17, they don't really care. They've got the list. I wouldn't be surprised for them to try and either go a bit earlier in the draft and get a player that really suits their system, who is young. 16, 17, the kind of squad fillers. And I don't think Sydney would look for you for that. Dustin Martin, I could see Sydney saying, if that Dustin Martin is true, here's 16, here's 17, give us Dusty. And making it work.
Yeah, and so be it, and do whatever they need to do. But at the end of the day, Taranto and Hopper aren't going to fix Richmond. They're not going to fix Richmond. And this is not a criticism or a kick in the guts. They've won 3 of the last 6 flags or whatever. Good on them. Like, they've had a wonderful run. I would kill to be in their run, but I'm not unhappy that the fact that they're going to be throwing 2.8 million and 3 first-round picks or whatever at Taranto and Hopper. You know what I mean?
It'd be interesting as well. Like Michael says, the cap. I mean, Dusty's re-signing was rumoured to be, it was in excess. I looked at the wording, in excess. So you could, that could be $1 million and $1, couldn't it? But I mean, you'd imagine if it's in excess, it's 1.1 million. So that covers Taranto. And you'd imagine, looking at their list, I don't think there's a lot of people on huge money at Richmond. When I look at their list, apart from Lynch, him, I don't think it's huge. Do you know what I mean? I don't think, outside of that, I reckon that they've got a very stabilised cap, is my guess.
Well, I think as well with Edwards retiring, he wouldn't have been on peanuts, and I think there was talks about Jack Riewoldt, possibly Cochin, if they're able to remove them, rejuvenate their list, sure, but it's not going to be, I don't think it's going to take them to where they expect it to take them, but good luck to him. Good luck to him.
We see Manny here, good friend of mine. I think he's spot on as well. I think Collingwood were quick to distance themselves. And when I saw their contract demands in the paper this morning, I was like, good move by Pies.
Yeah.
Because I like Taranto. I'm a big fan. But I think when I watched him at GWS, when they went through that stage of Whitfield didn't quite hit it, God knows what went on with Stephen Cornelio. He wants to come to Carlton. I think he's mentally in Carlton because of the way he was playing at that stage. Taranto kind of was slotting that. I always think when a midfielder who's an inside midfielder and makes his name 2 years ago there, he's slot across half forward. That's the coach saying you're not good enough. And Taranto's had some great games this year. I just think he needs to move and be a superstar, but I don't think he can command a superstar's wage.
No, I agree, and far be it from me to praise Collingwood, but they did a great job distancing themselves from Taranto and being linked to someone they probably need a little bit more, which is a Tom Mitchell type. So, yeah.
Mate, I love it. And we've obviously got no real more important trade rumours. There is the trade rumour that obviously Buddy, it's still going, that he may move. And a good mate of mine is adamant that Buddy will come to North. And it answers Michael's question with the expense of Buddy. There's rumours that North are launching a big, bold play to reunite Buddy one more time with Clarko, which I think is a great move for North. And I'll tell you for why. Zurhaar and Larky, they're learning off the best. The best there is, the best there was.
Yeah, I rate that highly.
Like, that could open the door. Because I've got a feeling this trade period's been quiet. And I'd love your opinion, Fazz, and chats. Just got a feeling that there is a big shock that we don't know about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be huge, to be honest. I think that there's going to be a couple of things that go down, and there'll be no bigger shock. If you tell me that Buddy Franklin and Dustin Martin are both moving clubs in the one off season, it doesn't get much bigger than that. I don't care if they're at the back end of their career. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
It would be like the Danger. Do you remember when Danger went to Geelong?
Yeah. Huge.
And that did everything. Carlton, we're getting Blake Acres. We're out of the Amon deal. We're out of the Amon deal. Thank you very much, Richie, mate. Much love, my friend, for the $5.
Richie's a good man. I work with Richie. Good man.
The legend. I can see, like Bryce says, I reckon North are going to be very active getting players that are regimented, because I think Clarkson looks at North's list, and I've been controversial about this. I don't think North's list is shit. I think there's a lot of young talent there.
They'll surprise people, I think. They'll surprise people. So, yeah, it'll be all right. I think, I don't think North isn't... I'd rather North's list those over, say, Hawthorn's, personally. But, yeah.
Hey, I wouldn't mind Nick Dacos. Can you imagine Nick Dacos? What do we think of Acres? I don't mind Acres. I watched him in the finals here. And I thought his fourth and third quarter, they impressed me, because I think that's something that Carlton massively lack, because he just does boring stuff. Boring stuff. And I want more boring things, because I've got this little stat for you. Carlton and Geelong are the only teams in the AFL that had 5 players in the All-Australian 44, right? What that says to me is the 17 blokes around them are dog shit. Because you look at Geelong, and there's players that weren't in the AA that you look at and you think head and shoulders above Carlton's list. Head and shoulders above them. Because they're just 6 out of 10 footballers, allowing the superstars to dominate. And that is what I think, to answer the North question, Clarko will look and he'll go, Davies Uniacke, brilliant footballer. Horn Francis may go, but if we keep him, brilliant footballer. Zurhaar can take a game away from you. Do you know what I mean? Larky, very, very solid. Ben Mackay down the back, very, very solid footballer. He will be thinking, you know what, if I can bring in some really steady footballers, we won't be that bad. We won't be that bad.
No, I'm with you. I'm pretty bullish on North. I think they're all right. Simpkin as well. I like Simpkin.
Hey, I'm with you. I think we're in for a good time. I'm thinking we're a good time. Do we think Horn Francis will stay or go home? I think he'll stay. I don't think Adelaide or Port have got the draft capital.
Yeah, no, I think he'll stay. Do
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the rumours with Buddy. Because of his wife, she's set up in Sydney. But AFLW is here. And she's the football agent. So makes sense him to come back to Melbourne. Can you imagine Buddy back in Melbourne? I'd be excited.
Oh, love it. Would love to see it.
I'd be excited. Well, now's everyone's favourite time, because it's usually when Fazz pots someone. Let's have a look at what he's potting.
I'm taking shots at the enemy. I'm gonna make it to the top, leave a legacy. If I got something to say, you better let me speak. Turn it up a new degree, bitch, you ain't seen anything.
Fazz, what you got for me?
Okay, I've got a mini one and my main one. Okay, so my mini Fazz Fury, if I saw it once, I saw it 1,000 times, and I've seen it in the chat, and I've seen it wherever. You can't delist a contracted player. Okay, You can't delist a contracted player. If I saw why have we delisted Stocker and still kept Dow and still kept Plowman, they're contracted. You can't delist a contracted player. All right, so that's my first mini Fazz Fury. Stop saying it. Stop doing it. You can't do it. We've only got 4 players out of contract at the moment. You can't delist a contracted player. All right, so that's my first mini Fury. My second one, and again, it is about the interactions and the work that was going on Twitter over the last few days, but supporters demand the club to be ruthless. They demanded, we want this club to be ruthless. We want them to make the tough calls. Until it was Liam Stocker, poor Liam Stocker, and now it's, oh no, that's too harsh. What do you want? What do you want? All right. They make a ruthless call and you sook about it. They say it's too harsh. All right. And it wasn't even that much of a ruthless call. We spoke about it, last week's show. It actually makes sense. So don't sit there and say, we demand our club be ruthless. I'm a paying member, ruthless. We want them to make the hard calls. And then go back in your shell and say, oh, Liam or Marchie or no. No, you can't have it both ways. The other thing I keep seeing on there is, well, we need an explanation. Tell me why. Why did the club delist Stocker? Because you're not good enough. Like, why do you need an explanation? So, sometimes a duck is just a duck. All right. There's no agendas. All right. There's no nothing. There's no hidden things. Sometimes a duck is just a duck. Stocker getting delisted is a duck. That's all it is. And, the last thing I'll say is, don't pick favorite players for trivial things and then cry about it when they get delisted. Everyone loved Liam Stocker because he did a good hip and shoulder, a couple of times. Don't get attached to players for trivial things and then cry home when they get delisted. That's all I'll say. And I love Liam.
Mate, I love Liam.
Carlton.
I did laugh. Carlton Blues is one of my favourite YouTubers because they put highlights, but they did a highlight of Liam Stocker. And I couldn't stop laughing that 3 of the bumps were against Gold Coast, that 2 of which resulted in kicks in front, which got them back in the game 2 years ago. And it did make me laugh because I was thinking, not the best highlights to have, do you know what I mean? But, to answer your question, Lou nailed it as well. When Len, you can pay him out. The problem is with the new AFL rules is that a percentage of it gets on there. So, like I said this to one of my mates the other day. He was like, oh, Plowman's there, Lockie O'Brien's there, they're shit. Pay them out. And I was like, I would burn Icon Park down if they had re-signed Stocker and sacked 2 other players and paid them out and thus hindered our salary cap this year to get talent in. I was like, that would be the worst decision. Sometimes, and Nick Austin's got a tough job here because a lot of these players have been recruited by someone else and he's got to do that. Do you know what I mean? He's got to do that. So it's a big thing. And I always say this about Stocker. It's not a surprise because I remember covering him from the draft and I was a big fan. And I am a huge fan of Stocker. My issue with Stocker is I cannot believe Richmond told him to his face and he said it was a big driver. You're not fit enough. And when you go back in my VFL, when I was doing my draft previews, I said one of the concerns was he was played intermittently on the ball. Even at juniors, they pulled him out very early because of his engine. And in the VFL, the 3rd and 4th quarters, the output drops. And that's my one concern. So for me, I much rather than be a little bit ruthless. In players, we have depth. So I can understand Marchbank sticking around. We don't have major depth there. But with Stocker, we've got Carroll there as well that we're trying to train in. There's this guy I've heard of, that another one of Sauce's favourites, Philp, who do you remember Philp at the preseason?
Yeah.
According to Voss, he was a guy that had massively impressed him.
Yeah, Voss loved
of the 22, and then he got injured. So there's all these players there that my nan used to say to me, 12 in 10 don't go, son. And sometimes you can't get them in. Do you know what I mean? You can't get them in. And I love that rant because we do get really upset.
Yeah, and look, I'll just finish it with one more thing. I don't want to make it the Liam Stocker show or whatever like that, but I'll just finish this one more thing and to say that he was drafted by a different set of recruiters with a different coach. These maybe Nick Austin, when he was a part of the Bulldogs recruiting, maybe they didn't have Liam Stocker as a top draft pick. I hate that thing of he was a first round draft pick, got to keep him. Supporters, you're asking the club to be ruthless. Well, start being ruthless yourself.
Mate, spot on. And to answer your question, Hugh, wingers are the most important part of the AFL list now. It's something that recruiters are looking for, and it's why you're starting to see a plethora, particularly in the since 2017, of wingers stay wingers. So it's a very old school mentality. Everyone can play wing. Yeah. Basically, anything you've learned in football from a tactical point of view, pre-2010, do this with it. It's worthless. Game's moved on now. It's so technical. It's a lot quicker. It's a lot sharper. It's a lot more chess than that. So, unfortunately, wingers are rare. Stockers are hard. And I'll validate what you said. Stocker, this isn't on him. This isn't on Nick Austin. This is going back to when he was drafted. Carlton started him in the back line. And I personally think in his second year, they should have said, right, fuck it. On the ball, on the ball, on the ball, on the ball. And that is what you're going to do. So, like wing, he can't play wing. If he can't play inside midfielders run on average about 9 to 10 Ks. You're talking 12, 13 Ks plus, but you're talking the worst type of runs. You're talking sprint runs. And if you've ever done that, I used to play centre forward. My pop used to make me do shuttle runs. They're a bastard. I'd take a 20K time trial over shuttle runs all day because you can run at your own pace. So, Stocker would have died. If he can't play inside midfield for fitness or back pocket or half back flank, wing, he'd be dead. He'd be dead.
I'm with you. And like I said at the start, not all turtles make it out to the ocean. So it's a brutal business.
You know what I mean? Manny says there, look, and I agree. O'Brien's harshly treated because he's, for the same reasons I think Stocker's overrated, because he's tough. And tell you what, there's not a winger in the AFL that is tough. And I'll leave you with Clarko's words on the wing. If you're getting contested possessions, you're doing something wrong.
Yep, spot on.
Do you know what I mean? You're doing something wrong. They should skirt packs all day. And that is where Lockie O'Brien's biggest weakness is. And I can tip you off, when he was dropped for that one game to work on something, it did involve the fact he becomes too contested and he tries to help out. And a good winger, Carl Amon, Langdon, they don't give a shit when the inside midfielders are working. They're like, tell you what, hurry up, get me the ball, please. I've got something to do. So, love it, Fazz. Love it. Love it. Let's see what I'm doing. I can't remember.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good, fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please say any negative thoughts, I pop off when I hear people say I cannot. I get off to the thought of proving everyone wrong, I won't stop to the top.
So I remember, AFL depth, right? The most underrated thing in the AFL, and it's something that I see it time and time again with the media, and I see it time and time again with fan bases of all the clubs. I see it a lot in comment sections from socials as well. The depth is so majorly underrated in the AFL. And I think for me, it's the media lead this. Everything is superstars. Jordan De Goey, XYZ. Do you know what I mean? Oh, look at the skill set of blooming Nick Dacos. Look at this, look at that. But when it actually boils down to it, what Colin would have done well is their depth and their players that probably are 6 out of 10s. Bo McCreary would be a great example. Do you know what I mean? Does his role, and that role is superb. Josh Dacos, I don't think Josh Dacos is anything spectacular. He does his job. Do you know what I mean? And I think he's very good at his job, and that's why he stands out. Matt Kennedy for Carlton. George Hewitt. 2 players, I think, are grossly underrated by the AFL. Grossly underrated. But if you break their role down, any idiot could do what George Hewitt does, and any idiot could do what Matt Kennedy does. They do their role, but they do it to a standard. A great example is someone like Jordan Lewis, who wasn't the top player at Hawks. When it was down the back, the primary ball user was someone like Hodge. Jordan Lewis went to Melbourne. He was okay. Superstar, though, in a good system, surrounded by the right people. And I think depth is incredibly, incredibly important, and something that the AFL media ignores. So, even now I'm reading about Carlton, and they're like, oh, Carlton should go out and get Blake Acres and Carl Amon. Why are Carlz not? And I'm like, why? Why? Get one in, and why can't you draft it? Because the supremely important thing about winning an AFL and doing the video I did today where I went back for the last decade of how lists are made up, the pattern is there. You need 3 players on that wing position, one that floats, and then 2 guys up and coming to learn off these guys. And it is so important that it's no surprise. Look at the difference, and we'll go back to that All-Australian. We had 5 superstars rated in the AFL as the best players in the land, right? Best players this year. Geelong, 5 players. 8 gaps between us and them. What's the difference? Their difference is we're bringing in Jack Carroll. Round 5 this year, they brought in a guy called Tom Aitken. Never looked back. It's the difference. It's the difference in talent. It's the difference in the fact they can go to their reserves and go, right, this guy's a 7 out of 10. So someone like Ed Curnow, for me, huge upgrade over Jack Carroll in a round 23 fixture where you've got to win.
100%.
And that's how list managers need to think.
Pommy.
6 inside midfielders. My 7th is always going to be there. And I think that's the difference. If you ask me, why are Carlton not number 1? I would say the number 1 problem is with Carlton Football Club is the system Voss enjoys playing lacks any consistency in its depth players. And I'm looking at Marchbank, McGovern, Setterfield. I'm looking at players like Liam Stocker. These guys who weren't best 22 or were best 22 aren't fit enough to sustain the year. And the problem is when you're replacing Marchbank, intercepting midfielder with Lockie Plowman, you're replacing intercept guru like Mitch McGovern with Plowman and Durden, who doesn't do that. You're fucked. Where Collingwood, when they replace players, they had like for like. Do you know what I mean? And that is the thing. When you're replacing Jesus 2020, leading inside 50 to goals created from his entries with an injured Jack Martin or some guy you just throw in there for banter and playing him in the ruck, you're absolutely fucked. So depth for me this year, and this is what I'm looking at in this draft, the D word, depth. I think our best 22, and I want your opinion, Fazz, and everyone in the audience, our best 22 all fit and healthy, top 4 in my opinion. I agree. Now 8 players coming in who literally are going to be the bottom standard, the 7 out of 10s, pushing O'Brien to greater heights, pushing the players, saying, if you fuck up, I'm that 6 out of 10.
I couldn't agree more. If there was one thing that was spoken about more than the Liam Stocker delisting was the Ed Curnow re-signing, and it nearly caused me to delete that platform. So much so, I what did you say? It broke me because I responded to someone. I can't be bothered replying to this. Read the thread, because if you can't understand why Ed Curnow re-signing is better, it can't even be bothered explaining it, because who would you rather coming into that team round 23 against Collingwood in a must-win game, a fit, proven AFL footballer like Ed Curnow, or a maybe, mighty, won't he could possibly another player? The other thing is, this might shock some people, so I hope you're sitting down. You do not get a trophy for having the youngest list in the competition. There's no trophy for that. It might be some sexy article in the Herald Sun saying, ooh, average age, ooh, Carlton, ooh, they're kids. You don't get a trophy for that. You know what you get a trophy for? Winning the fucking flag and having experienced players. That's what you get a trophy for. It drives me insane. Pommy. Anyway.
Mate, I'm with you. And I'm here, look, experienced solid depth player. And like Gavin, I in an ideal world, and this stat here sums it up, Carlton only had 8% of its list. So let that sink in, right? This year, right, we had 44 players, 45 technically, right, on our list because of injury inactives. Only 8% of that list was available from round 1 to round 23.
Crazy.
If you get rid of West Coast Eagles, because West Coast Eagles, it doesn't count. It was COVID. Do you know what I mean? So they were still fit. They just had a bad form of whatever COVID is now. That is the worst in the AFL by 18%. So let that sink in. Carlton finished 9th with making a list up almost every week. Yep. So that is why I think now what you've got to look at is you've got to get things better. You've got to make sure now that if Marchbank does stay on the list, Carlton have a key defender that can come in tomorrow and play. So Sam Durden, I'll give him a pass. He hasn't been injured for 2 years. He had a niggle, but he got back. But now Carlton needs to, I think, get a third intercept defender who's tall enough to play tall, ready to go and be safe. Same with on the ball. Ed Kerno, if he can pass all year, brilliant. But we can't be in a situation like we were last year, right in the guts, 8-2, and suddenly people drop every week. Because, no one's talked about this. We have 2 key forwards on our list. Harry, serial injuries all year in his career, apart from this year, but he did have the injuries. But he's always been a niggle. Charlie, God love him, he's a god to me, right? See his history problem, right? That, for me, is screaming at me, going, if you told me at the start of the year, Doherty, Fisher, and Kerner were the only 3 players at Carlton who would be fit all year, I would have said we'd finish 17th.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Nah, you're right, and that's it is what it is, and people have their opinions. But at the end of the day, what's the point of having a list full of young players if you're not going? If the minute they start to, I don't know. It's just driving me insane, this conversation, to be honest.
Oh, Fazz. Love you too. Fucking love you too. Do we need to look at the fitness people? Well, I mean, this is speculation, but I do know from a very good mate of mine that when Russell came in, he said to him over a beer that this side is unbelievably unfit. Like, actually said he couldn't actually believe it. So I think a lot of issues were, and I do remember covering the training session for Blue Abroad. And I just got back from Richmond's training session the night before. And it was when we had Teague. And I was like, honestly, Carlton's training session is bizarre compared to Richmond, because Richmond were doing a captain's run, throwing each other around, doing skills training. And I was watching Ben Silvani skip and, try and kick goals between his legs. And I'm like, this is bizarre, their intensity in training. So I do think that's the thing. But we finish now with everyone's favourite controversial opinion. So, Fazz, what's your controversial opinion?
Okay, mine's a bit of an emotional one today. And when I say it, I want everyone to just, before you start potting me, just let me finish what I've got to say. All right. And that is that technology is ruining sport more than it's improving it, to be honest. And not just ruining it, I think it's ruining the thrill of sport. Now, we all watch sport for the unbelievable highs and the crushing lows. I think technology is taking that away from us. Cricket, DRS, the thrill of taking a wicket, only for it to be reviewed and have to wait, and then you lose that euphoria. Soccer, the worst one for it. The round ball, the thrill of kicking that goal. Anyone who follows the round ball absolutely goes, thanks, John, you crack me up, absolutely goes nuts when we kick that goal, only for it to be, we've got to wait for VAR to check it. Is it an offside? Is it this? You lose that euphoria. AFL, the same. A goal goes in, did it touch the finger, did it do this? It loses all that euphoria. And not only that, and this is where it gets emotional for me, because we lose folklore. Stephen Silvani, 93 grand final. I just need to say that. Everyone knows what I'm talking about. Every kid grew up knowing that Stephen Silvani, did he touch that ball? Did he touch that ball? We will never know, right? But we're still talking about it. Hand of God, Diego Maradona. Everyone talks about it. Lampard against Germany in the World Cup. Wayne Harms tap in against Collingwood. Anthony Rocker in the grand final. I just jotted those ones down in 5 minutes thinking about them. No one will talk about, hey, remember that VAR call in against the West Ham Chelsea? Or no one will talk about, hey, remember that art call? No one will talk about that. What we talk about is folklore, things that occur. DRS, fuck off, right? Give us stories about heartbreak. Give us euphoria. Give us things that we're going to tell our kids and grandkids about. Get rid of technology because we lose it. We lose that euphoria.
This has stemmed from Mendy, hasn't it?
Yes. But I stand by my point. You think about all the things you spoke about at pubs with your mates. We talk about your kids. Like I said, I just say Stephen Silvani 93. Every person in the room knows what I'm talking about. Every person. If I say West Ham Chelsea VAR, no one knows what I'm talking about. Give us these folklore memories that we will always remember, that we can tell our kids about. Get rid of the technology because it's just ruining those moments.
Mate, I agree with you. I'm inclined to agree with you because I remember my pop always used to say it evens itself out, son. Do you know what I mean? And if you get a bad decision, do you know what I mean? Then 2 weeks later, Roy Keane would kill someone in the penalty area and it would be play on. And you kind of were like, there's the eviler. But I agree with you. But I think what annoys me is I don't mind technology. And I think Gav nails it here. If it's actually done perfect, like when you watch AFL, like it is crazy. It's almost like we're in like the 15th century with the technology. And like VAR, if we're talking soccer, I think they go too far back. Like, I think they go way too far back for their decisions. I would like to see, and I would compromise. Cricket, I love because it's at the team's discretion. Tennis as well, it's at the player's discretion to use it. They don't just use it all the time. I would love if you just said, right, we're going to have 5 reversals a half. Captains can call to check the goal. And imagine that. So just use it for goals. And, all the times you see the players check, the umpire says goal, they get 5 or 3 chances to do it.
Look, I understand that do we want the correct call? No, I don't care about the correct call. What I care about is the moment. I watch sport for the moment. Yes, I want the call to be correct. The only piece of
with Bowen.
I did. But what I'm saying is, the only piece of technology I actually think works is the goal technology in soccer. It goes in, it's either a buzz or it doesn't. It's a millisecond decision. These ones where they stop, even DRS. I hate DRS in cricket. I want the right call, yes, but I much prefer the moment because right now what's happening, I'm watching cricket, I'm watching soccer, not so much AFL, but I'm watching these big moments. That wicket goes through, you're like, come on, that goal goes, and you're like, oh, hang on. You're stopping emotion. And to be honest, because you're waiting for the call, because every goal is reviewed, every wicket is reviewed, everything is reviewed. And it's just, to me, yes, I understand the concept of wanting the right call. I get it. But I'd much rather being able to talk about these focal moments. Like I said, if we had this technology back in the day, would we still see Wayne Harms highlights? Would we still see Stephen Silvani touched highlights? Would we still see Hand of God highlights and talk about it? Would we see all these things? The reality is, no, we wouldn't. And I think that's sad.
No, I agree, mate. I agree with you. And thank you very much, Jason, for the $8 donation. You are a superstar. No, I agree. I mean, personally, I think the compromise, I don't mind technology. And I'm with John. I want it to be right and fair. And I know we might lose a bit of history, but no doubt if that Mendy goal with yours, if that was for the Champions League final, that would be talked about. We'd have new talk about. I would like to see an area of captain's calls, particularly when it's like AFL, and to bring soccer into it. I think fouls and stuff should be adjudicated not in slow-mo. I'm a big advocate because I think everything in slow motion, even when you actually go on, if you go on YouTube and watch perfectly timed tackles and you slow it down to like 0.10 speed, everything looks like they're going to murder someone, even though they get the ball.
Yeah, but this is the point. This is the point about the slow motion thing, and with the VAR especially, because what happens is if I gave you one of those pictures that the screen, and I said, Pommy, try and find the elephant in this picture. You will look at it and convince yourself there's an elephant there. You will do everything you can. Oh, there's the elephant. That's what they're doing. They're saying, we think this is a foul. What do you think? Okay, and they watch it, and they end up convincing themselves that something had occurred. It's actually a phenomenon. Google it, everyone. It's a phenomenon that actually your brain convinces yourself. You keep getting told to look for something, you will find it. And that's what I hate about it. It needs to be, to me, if they're going to have technology, it has to be, and I know they keep saying it, the absolute howlers. I don't care if a toenail's over the line for offside. That's not a howler. That's not an absolute howler, right? I don't care if, like in cricket, just the tiniest feather or whatever. That's not a howler. A howler is when a bloke has absolutely middled it and it's caught second slip and the umpire said, no, not out. That's a howler. A howler is when a bloke's 3 meters offside and scores the goal. That's a howler. I'm so done with this tiki-taka. Let's get every angle. Let's get every line. Let's see, did he, didn't he, I don't know, to all the way to with the Jared Bowen one saying, oh, do you think that there was definitely a foul here? What do you think? Oh, that foot just touched him by the letter of the law. That's a foul. Nah. I can't have it. I can't have it.
Mate, that Bowen goal has really fucking deeply affected you, hasn't it?
Well, tell me I'm wrong with it, though. Tell me I'm wrong with that goal. Seriously.
But if it cost Rangers the title, I'd probably be 100% with you. But I mean, thankfully, it hasn't. But no, I agree with you. And I think the method is bringing it to captains, coaches' calls. I would love a coach's call in the AFL. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine fucking Scott complaining that he only gets 3?
Okay. But I agree. I think it goes deeper than that. And I'll use the Bowen one as an example again, right? That goal goes in. Chelsea would have still, because it's the final minute, it goes back to the cricket one. Oh, we'll give it a look. We'll give it a look, right? It's still the dickhead referees who make the call anyway, so they still would have made the wrong call.
No, but that's what I'm saying. I think if it's a captain's coach's call, you've got... I thought it was the worst decision ever. And the sooner we can automate it, which they're trialing in the Champions League, the better. Because I don't mind if it's automated. If there's no human, we've got no one to hate. But I think because a lot of these, like even with AFL, the goal, it's human eye. And humans are failure. Yeah. I would love if you said to me, all decisions are done by computer. We've programmed it. The sensors galore. Then I'll be like, okay, cool. But at the moment, when there's humans making decisions, I'm not a big fan. So, no, I'm with you. I'm with you.
Look, it all comes down to, like, I think I don't want to lose these brilliant moments in history that we talk to our kids and grandkids about. That's all.
That's just want something to complain about. That's what. He wants to be able to, 10 years from now, call an umpire a twat.
No, but spot on. How good is it? No, but you're actually right, Pommy. You're actually right. How good is it? How good is it to say, no, we were robbed. We were robbed. Every single Carlton supporter always talks about 93. We were robbed. Mate, his finger was probably nowhere near the ball, but we don't know that. We don't know. We were robbed. That's good. It's good to complain. That's what sport does. If we want it to be played by robots, if we want it to be done by robots, then it's going to lose that euphoria. Sport is the best drug in the world and the most addictive drug in the world. They're making it like fucking water at the moment.
Nah, and I agree with Manny. I'm all for automated. And I'm 100% with you, Fazz. I'm just shit staring you. I mean,
it's all good.
We do miss it. And I've got something that's probably not as exciting now because Fazz has lost it. But I've gone back to what I know. We know that I fucking hate journalists. No offense to the lovely Amy, because I love you. But most journalists can't fucking stand them. Right? I've noticed over the last 2 weeks, the AFL is just starting to add irrelevant shit to their fucking articles to make it controversial. So I've got a couple of examples here, right? Right. This is John Ralph.
Your mate.
Right? For the finals. Archie's expected to miss this week. However, Cripps will captain Carlton in round 23. Why has he added that? Why did he add that? Is my question. No fucking need. Brisbane team news. No twat cares. And he blocked me for calling him out for this. So John Ralph watching. Fuck you, you mouth. and the other one, right? Carlton did their list changes. Carlton expected to re-sign Ed Kerner on a 1-year deal, despite delisting Liam Stocker. And the Herald Sun went with this one. Over 30, Ed Kerner, 0 games, 2022. Despite playing no games, expected to sign a year as Carlton demands standards. Why? Why add that? Just how are the articles 85 fucking words?
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Liam Stocker being fired or whatever you want to call it is fucking irrelevant to Ed Kerner, right? He's a different player, different position, different, and it happens time and time again, right? The wording of is another AFL shame, Dustin Martin in grope scandal, right? And the article opens up with the video is believed from 2017. So it's not another groping scandal like De Goey, like fucking all the others you're talking about. It predates them. In fact, this is the godfather of groping scandals, technically. Like, honestly, my thing is here, and this is a big thing for me. I think journalists have an incredibly important position, and it's a position that kind of we're taking over now as social people. And I think we have a duty of care to not only deliver opinion, but also deliver it how we see it, but also with fact, not edit fact. And what disgusts me about journalists is you've got to fucking comment the truth. Comment the truth. And that is what I find disgusting. When you're doing that, the media, I know for fact, John Ralph is a complete hairy fucking melt. And he had to add, his mates had to add, despite Stocker being delisted, because he will have gone on Twitter with his mates and gone, Carlton people, they're upset. Let's add that. Why? Because Ed Kerner, it should be celebrated he gets another fucking year, right?
Correct.
Not hurt him.
And this is what I mean. This is what I said it before. Sometimes a duck is just a duck. You don't need to give it, you don't need to give it a tail. You don't need to give it some ears. A duck is just a duck. And unfortunately, the journalists are trying to turn a duck into some form of fucking fictitious animal that it's pointless. So I am with you. 100%. It actually makes me laugh. It makes me laugh.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And this is spot on. Do you know what I mean? And it's been first, man. And you see it as well. There's been a lot of Twitter beef on Carlton socials, and I see a lot of you know it's been there. And what Johnny says nails it. And this is something I live my life by. I don't want to be first. I want to be me. I want to be right. Do you know what I mean? And I want to be right for me. But I don't care. I don't care about getting there first or fucking being the first to crack it. It's why I don't get excited about fucking rumors. And when people share shit with me, I don't bring it into my content because I couldn't give a fuck. Right?
Yeah,
but
I'm with you.
This is it. And what annoys me, though, is if Ed Kerner wasn't so emotionally headstrong, right? Some of the comments in that on Facebook were diabolical because they added Ed Kerner's name with Stocker. And there was people like saying, old man's injury, Ed should do the right thing and fuck off. There was another person who said he's only there because his brother's good and they've probably done it as a favour. And I've met Ed Kerner and I've sat with him and I've got brothers. And I can tell you, if Ed Kerner is the man I think he is and he's anything like my older brother who's no longer with us, he was a proud fucking man. So if you insinuated I did him a favour, he would be so ashamed of himself that you don't think he's big enough to do it himself. And I'll tell you what now, Ed Kerner is a fucking hero, a brave, strong man, a wonderful dad and a good fucking role model and a good husband. Guarantee you now, the biggest disservice you can say is he needs handouts from his baby brother. Because I'll tell you what, Charlie,
that was my favourite. That was my favourite comment.
Now, speaking to both of them, Charlie probably owes a lot more to Ed than Ed owes to Charlie because he's he's helped him out get fit. And I know that for facts from Charlie. So it fucks me off. And that's caused by the media. Just report the facts, you dickheads. You're on nearly 6 figures to write about other people's lives. We make the content for you, you melts.
It's a great call. It's a great call. That Charlie and Ed one was my favorite. Was my absolute favorite. Yeah, I like that comment. We don't need opposition supporters to bash our players. We have our own. Yep, not wrong.
On you. No, but you see, that's what annoys me because, like, honestly, I'm not being nasty. I'm not downplaying journalism, but it ain't that fucking hard. Do you know what I mean? Ain't that fucking hard to be a journalist, is it? Because the story happens. So the creation is there for you. Content has been done for you. You're just merely relaying what's fucking happened, right?
I'm with you.
AFL journalism must be the easiest form of the journalism in the world because the players fucking do it for you. And if you were a gossip journalist in the AFL, these are 22-year-old men, first job, 6 figures, with the world at their feet. Of course, they're going to do some fucking mistakes. Because I'll tell you what, John Ralph, if you followed me when I was 18, 19, aspiring golf pro, some of the shit I did in nightclubs, fuck me, you would have loved it. Do you know what I mean? Doing fucking fish bowls for banter, rolling into training pissed. Like, he would have loved it. So I'm amazed that these young draftees on 6 figures aren't fucking doing stupid shit. Like, it actually shocks me.
No, I'm with you. Great call as always.
Mate, Amy, when Pommy and Oz becomes a multi-million-dollar industry, I will pay you $150K. Just tell me how pretty I look in journalistic form. And then we finish with my favourite bit, because I get to talk to you guys and girls.
Don't wanna sleep in, cause I got something to prove. I gotta take what I hate and finally make a move. I think of you and all the shit you don't do. Well, I'ma make hella shit.
That's cost me $150K, that. Thanks. So send in your questions. We have this wonderful one here from Ben. Why don't Carlton put Chera on the wing and put Jack Carroll on ball? I went English then.
Look, my without going into too much detail, you're probably better off to answer this one. My immediate response would be, I think we saw how valuable Chera in the last, especially round 23, how valuable he is in and around the ball. I think that's my immediate opinion without any facts.
Mate, I'm with you. I think Chera's a rotation on the wing, definitely 100%. I hope to see Carroll break in this year. I think Carroll could be the guy that does the wing, comes in and pinch hits on the ball. I think that's his future. He's got very McRae trajectory. So good question. I think Chera will get a bit more wing time. They've got to do it. So can't fit them all on the ball 24/7. So no, I think you'll see something. Ben. What are our thoughts on the TV deal, Fazz?
My immediate thought was, Channel 7 again. Ugh. But then after reading into it a bit more, good money. What else can you say? The product. I just hope, and I mentioned this many shows ago. It's a lot of people look at it the wrong way. It's not incumbent on the AFL to provide It's incumbent on the AFL to provide the product, but now it is incumbent on Channel 7 to enhance the product, which I don't think they've done definitely the last 12 months. They haven't enhanced the product. There's no shows. There's no, the post-game, pre-game stuff is absolute trash. So I just want to see Channel 7 enhance the product. I think it'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, it felt like the same shit, different enemy, didn't it?
Yeah,
I get the feeling that it's going to be exactly what we always see. Do you know what I mean? Like Fox, the only difference is, like you say, the commentary. Do you know what I mean? That they've got their own commentators. I mean, I've been frantically refreshing my emails because I thought, surely there's a job offer. Can we bring the Pommy and Fazz show to 7 Friday, 8 o'clock?
Yep.
But,
it'd be brilliant. Kingslayer can join in.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? You can. We'll bring you all. You can be the first audience. Do you know what I mean? We'll be demanding beers. Beers. What else have we got here? We've got the 2 questions very similar. Peter, high half forward, and Big John Holden. Who should we target as our third? Would you be targeting an extra high half forward? Bruce Gunston have been named?
Look, possibly, but seeing that Honey and Owies have both been given contracts, I'd say that's probably a position that the club seem they're okay with, I think.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's Isaac Keeler, John. I'm a big guy on him. He would be the perfect third tall little ruck proposition. He floats my boat. And Manny, do we believe in Voss, just like the Jumper Punch boys? Do you believe in Voss? Chat, let me know what your consensus is and Fazz.
Look, yeah, I do. My biggest concern, and my concern has been consistent throughout, whether it was Bolton, Teague, or Voss. I believe in whoever's at the helm. I just don't believe in what's happening behind the scenes. I know we've got new people there. I know obviously Brian Cook's there, but to be honest, he came out with this beautiful plan, and I love that. But who's to say that if we start 2-8, going into round 10, 2-8, that they're not going to say, oh, the power brokers get in, the Mathesons of the world say, oh, we want Voss sacked, and they do it all over again. So I believe in Voss. I'm just not ready to trust the club yet. That's all.
I 100% believe Voss is the man. My reservations are, I think next year it's going to be a lot tougher for Carlton. I think my prediction is Carlton finish 4th next year. But I think we're going to be a 4th like Collingwood. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very tough start. I predict the AFL punishes. And I'm with Fazz there. I'm going to be looking very closely. If Carlton start 4-4, when that pressure comes, my issue this year with Voss was the pressure came and I felt like the media went back to their old ways. The PR machine started to rattle.
Yeah.
And fuck about and try and distract us a bit and started using them niche words. That's when I'll start to worry. I think if they give Voss total carte blanche, and it's been good that Voss has come back to being the Voss I remember at the start and being very bold and being very forthright and being very true to where he was, where I felt Voss became media trained the last 6 rounds. He's come back to it, started throwing pot shots at people, started demanding what he expects. Then if the club are watching this, let Voss speak. We're adults. We're all full-grown men and women. If Voss tells us the players is shit, we can handle it. If Voss tells us the players aren't good enough, we can handle it. You don't have to give us song and dances. So I 100% think he's the man. I want him to have the support Craig McRae has at Collingwood, where everything is about him. And I am so believing in Nick Austin. It's not funny. I believe Nick Austin has got the hardest job in football because I think a lot of this list he wouldn't fucking touch with his best mates. So I think he's got a hard job to really make this list his own. And I expect it to be aggressive. So I'm 100% with him. I think we've got the team now. We've got the crew. 5 people in the All-Australian. If we don't make top 4 this year, might as well wrap up shop. Is my argument.
No, I'm with you. And like I said, I back Voss. I just know that there's still those influential people on the board and in and around the club who are the reason we're in the position we've been in for the last 7 years. That's all.
Kingslayer, he's in the house.
Hey, look, what I'll say to Kingslayer, it might not like my opinions, but at least you've heard of me.
And thank you very much, Hugh. Hey, tell you what, tight budget. We'll do it for beers. Do you know what I mean? Like Jason says. Do you know what I mean? Do it for beers. Like, Seven, if you're watching, get us a studio, get us a couch, let the guys come in and just put a free bar on.
I've done worse for beers.
You know what I mean? Free bar on. Me and Fazz have got a little bet where we're going to have to do a live stream where we try and drink 54 beers in 24 hours. So, Seven, sponsor that. We'll do it live.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Well, thanks very much, guys. Anyway, thank you very much, Manny. Thank you very much, everyone in chat. We love you to pieces. Amy says we're much better than armchair experts. It ain't fucking hard, to be fair. Ain't hard. But can't wait to see you all next week. We'll be back Friday with the football show, Round Ball. And shout out to Mr. Fazz Senior as well. I hope you're feeling better.
Love you, Dad.
Back in chat, bullying us next week.
All right. See you guys.
Soon.